Good morning. Good morning and happy 2020 to everyone. Welcome back to the Breakfast Spelunky show. I don't even know if that's what it's called. It's been a while. I've been offline mostly, not even close to a streaming rig. Good morning, Docky. How's it going? It's going to be interesting to see how I fare today after not having played the game a whole lot for a month. Sometimes that's great. Sometimes it's hilarious. It's never bad. These games never bad. I'm going to dive right into it, then talk about certain updates and games and end of the year lists and whatnot afterward until about 11 a.m. my time on the west coast of the United States. Because after that I am on take care of my son duty. So let's dive right into this and see what this game has in store for me today. Okay. Oh man, this is always the most fun part where I realize I'm only playing on PSN all the time. Docky says it plays Spelunky so infrequently everyone is on borrowed time. Yeah, that's what I feel like right now too. Also because I can never wrap my head around these minuscule changes in the controls. Let's see, is the audio even playing? I think it is. Let me turn up the game audio a little bit. Let's see. Oh, it's so, dog, it's so small. It's so minute. It's like, it's the most absurd things, like that run is on the trigger and that the D-pad is offset by like a centimeter, maybe, right? That I'm not used to that and stuff like that, but obviously the D-pad is the better way to go. So it introduces a bunch of things where I just have to like quickly readjust myself to the controller. And potentially I could blame the controller for why things are going to go horribly wrong, but that's just, it's another nice cop-out. Because right now oh, that's not good. Okay, how do I best deal with that? I don't want to get hit by that arrow. Oh, I didn't, because it... So that was super lucky, right? So I think if that had not been a live skeleton, then the arrow would have gone through and I would have had to try to dodge it. Let's see. Yeah, it's so weird. Like right now... Oh, Docky, I am using an Xbox One controller on my PC. Whereas on the PSN, I obviously use a PlayStation controller. I know that I could jump through a couple of hoops to set up a PlayStation controller here, but I actually like... The funny thing is I like the Xbox One controller better, but then I never play with it, so it's just much, much harder to get used to. Yeah, and as I say, I'm playing with the analog stick right now just because it turns out I prefer the placement of the stick over the analog or digital. Mike Leone, hello, says hi, Hellrun. Yeah, that's always the goal. In fact, normally when I stream not for here, I just quit if I don't make it to hell. Like if anything happens on the way to the hell path, I'd usually just like bomb myself. I don't do that here on the stream because I archive it and a couple people, like a handful of people are watching, and it's like not great. Like I should at least try to beat the game afterward. And then usually I'll fill up the hour with other stuff. Yeah, Docky says, ooh, analog. Yeah, it's weird. I guess I'm not that good at games. Like for some reason, I can wrap my head around it, and it turns out that the placement of the stick means more to me. Ooh, I do not like that. It's always a little bit of an unnecessary risk. Like the number of times I've accidentally jumped and just got killed by the spikes because I didn't jump right. Mike Leone said, oh, Doc said first, like, first time I cleared Spelunky was on the alpha or beta using USB Saturn. That's amazing. Okay. I have, because I follow you on Twitter, I have seen that you're doing all kinds of really amazing stuff with like retro hardware and controllers and whatnot, which I think is really, really cool. For me, this is mostly a time thing. It's like where I spend my time when I'm not playing games, and these days it's in fawning over analog synths. Mike Leone says, yesterday I won for the first time. Nice! Like hell? Because if you won hell for the very first time, like, boy, do I remember that, because I was in tears. Like, because I thought that was just straight up never going to happen. Then Docky says, I used analog for a while because the D-pad is so horrid on the 360. So, yeah, this is a little bit arrogant, but, like, this thing here is that Elite controller, and it actually has a really, really solid D-pad. That's one of the reasons one might want to consider spending that money, although it is absurd. It's an absurd amount of money. It's like $180 for a controller. Yeah, Mike, getting to hell is an amazing achievement. Like, sometimes when I say, oh, I've been to hell about 100 times now, which if you look at my stats, it's probably true. It's only because I've been playing the game since 2012, right? I'm like 8 years in. And I quit after beating hell for the first time. I quit for like maybe 3 months until I just really missed it again. Hey, Ix. Finally get to catch another one of these. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everyone. Keep on hearing that we're past the point. This is okay. Ix, I feel like this is you watching. Just gave me this like amazingly lucky roll. Perfect. Don't say you didn't want this to happen, because this is 100% you. Now, of course, everything is going to be demolished. Oh, hey, Ming. How's it going? Happy New Year. Stick around. This might turn funny. Oh, there's the key. Wow, all at once. All at once. Okay, now I just switched to the D-pad on this controller because things just got serious. If I had to place a guess, I'd say that my death today is going to be because of something where I just pressed the wrong button or missed the controller input. But let's not jinx it right away. Okay. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Where did I... Okay, so clearly... Oh, boy. Oh, wait, no. We're fine. We're fine. I was like, wait, do I have the paste? I do. Fantastic. Because if I hadn't, I would have had to cook the bomb. It's not like a thing that I've done it before, but it's pretty sketchy. Okay, do I use a bomb? I'm at 14. Yes, I do use a bomb for this. If I wasn't at 14, I might consider not doing this, but this is just too good. You know, when that happens to me, when I'm playing on my own, I already slap myself in the face, but on the stream, it's just a really embarrassing thing to do. To like accidentally drop the pug in the door instead of getting it to the altar. It's so bad. Oh, Ix says that you would not believe how many times this accident and damsel rescue has happened to me. Yeah, it's innumerable times, and it's every time I tell myself, oh, by the way, just don't accidentally hit the door. Okay, let's see. I missed a couple of things. 15 bombs, key, nice run. Yeah, that's why I'm going to die, but we'll see. And paste. Doc says, now you have no excuse for your death. I always do. I always dislike the paste. I can't play without the paste. Like, I mess up really bad if I can't, because of reasons like just now, right? Because I have to cook a bomb to get to that chest. I hate the shoes with strings. What do you think? Do you mean the jump boots? The jump boots I don't like. The spiky boots are obviously amazing. And again, like a component where I feel like if I don't have them, there's a high likelihood of me messing up. Man. Playing it really close again. What am I doing? I don't need to be up here. That already triggered. Springs. I hate the spring. Well, the spring boots are good if you have the climbing gloves with them and no jetpack. right? That's fine. Ugh, do I want to even interact with that thing? Not really. Do I have to? Not really. Oh, right. Did forget about that little detail, didn't I? Well, whatever. Let's get rid of this stuff. There we go. Just so it doesn't mess me up on the back end. So now, normally what I would do, yeah, here's a nice little trick. Doc says, "Oh yeah, no boots and climb, no jetpack." Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it bogs you down, but if you're like don't have the jetpack and you have the climbing gloves, then it's nice to have the boots. So here's a trick I actually saw on a stream. I don't even know if I think I saw it in a speed run at Summer Games Done Quick, where you just put 2 bombs here, and then the second bomb will just drop on the shopkeeper and stick him. See? Pretty damn effective, I'd say. So I'm still gonna at least go through here to see if I can find some goodies. Goodies basically being the pug, but because did I miss the pug? Do I want to try to hunt the pug down? I don't think. Well, got 11 bombs. I already messed up the last. Yeah, this is not worth it. Some people may have a differing opinion on that, but right now, because I'm playing it and also trying to focus on being not entirely in my own headspace, I'm not going to worry about it for now. Probably a mistake, but we shall see. Okay, so where are we? 11 bombs, 6 health. Everything looks really good. This is another one of those situations where the highest likely negative outcome is due to my own mishaps. Like, I think the other day I literally got overwhelmed by bubbles. Right? I got juggled by bubbles because I was in a pinch. Okay, this is probably not worth it, so let's not do that for now. This is usually worth it. Okay, that part I don't like. Okay, so now this is gonna... Yep! Okay. So now I'm just gonna like try to lure these guys, and by guys I mean piranha fishes, up to the top, and then whip them so I can get to whatever's in the chest, which turns out to be the worst item in the game. Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Well, whatever. I was going to trigger that guy anyway. Let's just hope that that trigger didn't... Like, let's hope we have a favorable situation down here. Well, I did see the shopkeeper walking there just now, so I'm not going to stop shooting. Oh, okay, the shopkeeper's killed. Okay, I don't think that the black market was here, right? I don't think I missed it. Yeah, boots, babadabadoo. My cleaner, why don't you sacrifice? What do you mean, sacrifice the damsel? Or in general? I mean, the only reason to sacrifice, man, machete, yeah, machete, the movie's good. Well, good. It's fine. A cave person. Yeah, I know that all these things add up to getting the cup of Kali. I think the cup of Kali is just fine. Oh, sacrifice to the worm. Yeah, I don't want to go into the worm level. I'm trying, so my way of quote-unquote beating the game is very, very straightforward. It doesn't involve taking any cuts through the levels where I'm much more likely to die. Although I've played the game so much at this point that probably at some point it would just be creative to do that instead. Or maybe a little bit more fun, but there's something about the daily ritual for me of just playing the version that I know that is deeply satisfying to me. Seemingly infinite for infinite amounts of time. Yeah, the worm and the spaceship and the castle, which is another thing that you can go to and get a giant shield that I guess is good in multiplayer, but you have it anyway. It's not like you have to unlock it. I recently replayed multiplayer. This game is so good in multiplayer. Man. I do not... Oh, God. Poor shopkeep. So, yeah, this is probably overkill to use a bomb for this. I'm going to honor Nick here and pick up the new shotgun for no good reason other than it's Nick loves doing that. Okay. So a thing I'll say right now, because I think it's worth mentioning, not that, because it's a thing you can't see. Oh, there's the black market, and obviously I have to bomb this. So there's a weird thing about my daily plays where sometimes I feel extremely confident, and sometimes, even though things are going really well, I feel really shaky. Today is one of the shaky days. So today I'm like, something's not quite right, and it usually has something to do with the way I feel about my dexterity skill, and the dexterity skill is the thing that's probably has the highest variance for me. And I think it may have to do with the controller. Okay, so let's just... Do I care? 8 bomb. Okay, so this kind of sucks. Well, let's try this. Oh no, I would think that was 1, 2. Okay, I guess now I have to do this because I'm a moron. Let's So that was definitely a bomb too many. Let's see if I can not go past that gate now. Okay, spiky boots. That's good. So let's go in here now and read some notes. Docky says, I have a weird relationship with games like Spelunky. I found myself distancing myself when friends became really competitive using wikis for every detail. I tend to not enjoy that part very much either. Unless I'm like... I think the cases in where that happened when it was not competition. It was like I was like, oh, I'd really like to and finish Dark Souls, and there are a couple of spots that I just really don't want to learn or figure out what to do, and I'll look it up on a wiki. But I tend to not play those things while everyone else is playing them. The hard games, I've played them like a half a year later, because I also am not that into it. This is going to be different for Spelunky 2 for us, I think, right? For obvious reasons. It says another option for those ticky exits is to line up in the middle with the rope. Works with climbing gloves too. Yeah, I sometimes just jump up and manage to not hit the side, but I don't want to accidentally do that hang one thing where I get stuck to one of them. Docky says, I like swapping for a fresh shotgun too. Nick is good people. Yep, that he is. I will gladly sign off on that. Oh, okay, so here comes... I guess I should have been a little bit more careful about that. So I have 6 bombs. It's not a whole lot, but let's do something like this just to get those dudes away from there. That wasn't great. See, this is the kind of shit that's going to cost me... Okay. Come on. Come on. Good. Okay. Think I'm safe. Okay, so this is not good. That was no bombs. Let's see what's down at the bottom. Okay. That's good. But now... Okay, so let me see if I can formulate a attack plan here. This is nothing. Nothing here looks overly enticing to me. The question is, can I get lucky? because I need that shopkeep to not be there. Like, that just has bad news written all over it, and this is my last bomb. I don't want to die here. Jesus. Nope, didn't stick him. And he's gonna survive that. But maybe it'll at least have bomb to hold down to the bottom. It did. Okay, now let's make sure that this here is relatively clean. It's not. It's not. There's a shopkeep right there. Yeesh. Oh god, and I have to bomb my way through here? Come on, game. Okay. Okay, so now, same trick. 2 bombs in the hopes that the one that drops down kills everything. It did. Yay! Oh, and there's another jetpack. Not that I really need that jetpack, but... So now I usually just keep on looking to see what's all the way at the bottom, if there's anything useful. And yes, there is. Now, of course, I have to be a little bit careful here. Where am I in time? 2:26. Okay, so I'm going to wait over here just for the ghost to appear, so I don't have to deal with the ghost. Then I'll bomb my way over here, and that will, if nothing goes terribly wrong, that will have been... Oh no, something is going terribly wrong. I don't like that. Please no comments on that. That was me turning off my brain, right? So that was 100% the whole, like, Giga-Renzer Kahneman gut feeling thing. I was just like, I can't think this through. This is never going to work. Docky says, recognize the mistakes you're making and compensating is expert play. Okay. Yes, that's probably true. It's not a great bomb. I don't even know. I'm looking back on stuff now, but at least you got the bomb. Yeah, I did see what you mean with the 2 sticky bombs. Yeah, that trick it's so good. I only learned it in 2019. X says that BM was designed to murder you. Nice one. Yeah. I can't believe you got away with that. Neither can I. There's a weird thing that is related, I think, to the frequency at which the shopkeeper shoots. That if I think it through, right, like really like, okay, shot, go, I always get killed. And if I don't think about it, then somehow like if I don't think about it, I survive it more often than not. And the second I try to think it through, I'm very likely to die because I think my rational thinking about it is wrong. It's straight up incorrect. I think it's and I think that's the problem, right? That's the whole like understanding that what I'm thinking is not the right model, but it's very hard to do that in the heat of the moment. So I did play the PSN daily earlier today, and the way I died is one of my favorite ways, and it's always in the ice caves, and it's always unnecessary. It's when I get too close to the Yetis, and they juggle me to death for no reason. Same as the thing I'm going to do now, right? Like shooting these spaceships, totally unnecessary. They might fly off to the side and explode around a mine, and then that mine catapults over to me and kills me. Happens to me all the time. And again, it's mostly because I am not... Oh, another way I like to die. I just now noticed I don't have the climbing gloves, and I thought I was going to stick to the side of the wall, which of course I was not. That was not a good throw. Good enough. Docky says, this is designed to cause the player to be at blame for their own death. Yeah, it's like... If you play this game a lot over and over again, which again, I do not recommend. I've never played it that way, and when I did, I burned out on it, right? Just like playing not the daily and just repeating and repeating and repeating, which I get, again, you have to do that if you want to get good at the speedrunning parts of it. But what I would do is I'd play it and I'd get pretty far, and then I'd get to a new game and think I still have all the items. And of course, I had none of the items, right? And then immediately fall to my death because I thought I had the jetpack from last time or something, so... Okay, so now I am going to do that thing that people mentioned earlier, which is quote-unquote farm the other creatures. If I'm not mistaken, and I kind of think that Ix would know, I think the Yetis are worth more than the cavemen in terms of Kali getting on your good side. I don't know if that's true. And again, intuitively, it seemed true to me at some point. Home Alone design, that's pretty good. That's a good comparison. Docky says, yeah, really just a Rube Goldberg machine with a mousetrap trigger. Home Alone design. I have that when I repeat play Hoplite. Yes. I know a lot of people are into Hoplite, right? Frank Lance, huge Hoplite fan. Darius Kazemi, huge Hoplite fan. Darius is the wonderful human being who made the version of traditional Spelunky where you can like do the randomization in a browser, which I use in class all the time. Doc says Hoplite is boring and ugly but good. Yeah, I think it doesn't look good, it's true, but so arguably, so that also applies to, oh look, am I gonna get, oh, there we go. Just gonna get the cup. Okay, I guess I could have had that sooner. Arguably, Michael Bros games don't look good either, but honestly, I don't know what that means anymore. Like, I am a huge fan of Michael's aesthetic, and the fact that he has such great range, right? Like, 868. I just started teaching prototyping yesterday at USC, and oh boy, let's try not to mess this up. And I had a picture of 868 Hack right next to Cinco Palace, and those games look very different. Where am I, by the way? 3-2? Okay, let's try not to... Let's just make sure I'm not missing the Moai head. I think I'm not. I still don't have the climbing gloves. I have to be really careful about not forgetting that. See? Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay. Oh, man. I am so sorry, everyone who was hoping to see me go to hell. Okay, now I have to actually be scared of not getting it. Well, I got out of here. Oh, man. Zach's watching, too. Zach, you should be on Discord. What the hell, man? Ix says there's a difference between alive or dead, but most enemies are worth the same. Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Shopkeepers, Helping Hands, Damsels, and the Spelunker himself. Oh, Zach says he's working. Cool. Thanks for watching, though. Spelunker himself are the exceptions. Yeah, that was super unfortunate. Like, it's so funny, too, because I literally just mentioned it 2 seconds beforehand that I'm like, oh, I normally I'm used to having the climbing gloves around here, and then I fall to my death. Okay, so whatever. Stakes are a little bit lower now, but actually not, because let's not just be terrible about this. Man, sometimes I even like die by accidentally in the level with the Moai head. So this was the level I was supposed to die in, like literally right here. What can I say? It's hard to focus on the game and the chat and talk all at the same time. But hey, Spelunky. Okay, so at this point, again, sometimes all I do is just like run the game, right? Like speed run it. But not that I can still get the Spelunky achievement. Ah, dude, thanks a lot for catapulting your gun into infinity. Whatever, it's not that important. Ix says, almost made it. Yeah, almost. But also, after I had realized that I only here in these streams try to get to the first ending, did I realize that that ending is so different than the hell ending because I hadn't seen it in so long. And then I remembered that the first time I beat that ending, I mean, yes, hell was like a whole other level, but even that, because back in the day when people were still playing Spelunky Classic, I do remember that it was kind of a badge of honor to have beaten it on Iron Man, right? That's what people used to call beating traditional Spelunky without using without using the shortcuts, right? Like game feel aficionado and author Steve Swink was the person who turned me on to that. In fact, Steve's basically the reason why I started playing the game more regularly in the first place. Oh no! No! Oh god! Oh no! Oh dear lord! This is bad. Okay, that was not terrible. That was not terrible. That is a situation I've literally never been in. I've never dodged under the locusts while Anubis was shooting brain rays at me. That was kind of fun. That was a fun situation to have solved, honestly. Okay, that guy's gonna just get stabbed. I don't need the money anymore. It's kind of pointless. I'm at 18 bombs. I'm not going to need the 18 bombs. So let's just start speeding up this process a bit. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, uh-oh. This is good. This is not good. This is not good. Oh, okay. That worked. Yeah, I hate that teleporter dude. It's probably not called teleporter dude. Docky says Iron Man. Oh, I did that. Yeah, that was the thing back then, right? That was the thing back then. I just remember I never did it with the original. I thought I had so many issues with the controls in the original, and let's just call it what it was, right? I just bounced off of it. I think this is what happens nowadays more often than not, right? Like people are just like, oh yeah, I never got into your game. I just bounced off of it. And then eventually maybe you go back and play it. Where am I? Okay. And then it sort of sticks. I don't know. It's so hard to say. Like, I don't even know what that game is for me right now. Docky says I didn't know it was an Iron Man or a badge of honor. Yeah, it was like, I mean, if you didn't, it was basically not using the tunnel person, the tunnel man, right? Because that was considered, oh, that's not good. Because that was considered very difficult. Okay, so this should be, this is so funny, right? Because I'm used to having to care about where I have to get. I don't even know what I'm doing here right now. None of this is necessary, right? Let's get some of these bombs. Because normally here I just stock up so that I have a bunch of cool stuff for the later levels, but right now that's just straight up not a thing. Now I just have to be aware of the fact again that I don't have the climbing gloves. So let's try our very best to not fall into the lava. I think this will clear everything here, right? Yeah. And that opens the door. And that is the standard way. That is what we used to call Iron Man on Spelunky Classic because hell didn't exist. It says GG. Docky says the classic controls are super awkward. Took me a bunch of controller remaps to cope. Yeah, I think wasn't it even the case back in the traditional version that you had to use joy to key or something because it was all key maps or something. Man, it's been such a long time. But for some reason, I could never commit to that game, even though everyone was speaking about it very highly. And then the people who committed to that later on said that they could never commit to Spelunky HD. I can only commit to Spelunky HD after Zach says GG. Thanks, man. I can only commit to Spelunky HD after the daily came out, right? because it just enforced a mode of play that was much more to my tastes, right, and to my not burning out on stuff. Okay. So, Docky says, congrats. Thank you. This is still, I mean, it's still a great game. It doesn't matter, right? Like, I was recently asked, like, after we did our end of year lists on the podcast, which I'll gladly talk about a bit, I was asked what my game of the decade was by a person who doesn't know that we do this show, right? And I was like, number one is the easiest thing in the world for me. Waterhead, who is Ming, says, GG, have a good day. Yeah, Ming, take care. Hope all is going well for you. Yeah, it was like the number one is easy for me, right? But then I was starting to think about what the other 5 or 4 would be on a top 5 of the decade list, and the next thing I could come up with, honestly, was like things that were important for me and not so much that they were formative, but I also think sometimes I'm trying to merge that, and it was just like stuff like StarCraft 2, right? Because nothing would be the same for me, right, without that, right? Like if I finally got into StarCraft 2 or StarCraft at all with the StarCraft 2 release in 2010, and then the first 5-6 years of that decade were just me and Zach and a bunch of other people watching the GSL, right, the Global StarCraft League in South Korea, and a bunch of other stuff like that. Yeah, my other stuff that I had on that list that I just think was important because it came in late and under the radar, and I wasn't expecting it to be as good as I think it is, and that was Song of Bloom by Kamibox.de, aka Philip Stollenmeyer. That game's amazing. I don't know if it might only be iOS, but it's just super, super good. And then I had on there, for obvious reasons, Auto Chess, because that's just the game that I played around with the most this year. Lonely Mountains Downhill was on there, and now I'm literally blanking on the other two. But I actually have a browser tab open here because I knew this was potentially going to happen. Oh, wait, now the audio stops. This is so funny. I'm not going to bring this up because I also have all my votes for the IGF on here, which are secret. Sekiro and A Short Hike. Yeah, Short Hike is also glorious, right? Short Hike is so fun. Ixa's top 4, Spelunky HD, Dota 2, Portal 2, Super Mario Maker. Super Mario Maker is super cool. That's another game that I could never like make my game for the time. It was this thing that just never happened. At Dota 2, just similar to League, I played each of them like for 40 hours and then decided after 40 hours, nope, this is not what I'm going to be playing. I also never had a team, right? And also at that time, I was always so in love with StarCraft 2 and the legibility of it, like that you could just show it to a person who doesn't really watch games and they would be able to understand what's going on. Portal 2, yeah, again, similar to what I said earlier, I was a big fan of Portal, and Portal 2, I think, is great. But it didn't do it for me let me turn down the audio of that a little bit. It didn't do it for me in the same way that Portal 1 did, right? And then to add insult to injury, we had... it wasn't... Man, now I'm blanking on the two... Right, the two writers from Old Man Murray, right? One of them came to give a talk to NYU, and we were hanging out with him, and he was like... You know, he wrote Portal 2, and he said something like, yeah, we didn't really need a Portal 2. And I was like, whoa, okay, that's cool. Doggy says, I often forget how much the Spelunky show folk are until how much they are until they list a bunch of combat stuff and shooty games. How much are into gamer games? Yeah, Docky, honestly, I think we're into games, period, right? I don't think that I know that we like to section off traditional games and new games and modern indie games and much more like games that are trying to do something different. I think that's super important, but I tend to not make a huge distinction between these things. Modern Warfare would probably be my number 7 or something like that because the multiplayer is amazing. I never got into Apex, but I played it and I thought it was pretty good. But yeah, Zach liked Modern Warfare a lot, and or likes it more, maybe even more than I do. It's just a return to form because we played Modern Warfare 2 in 2009 a lot, and it was just really good. Um, so yeah, I'm into every game. I'm into, like, right now, I could, like, off the top of my shelf here, I could, like, show you any number of games that I recently purchased, and I'm dying to get to the table. Like, I have Yokohama here, and all these new, like, Architects of the West Kingdom, Paladins of the West Kingdom. The new Brass Birmingham is over here, unplayed. The reprint of the Dune board game. I don't have enough time in the day to play all the games I want to play, but they're all the games, right? I just finished Disco Elysium, which was not on my list because I hadn't finished it yet, but oh boy, is that game amazing, right? It's done by I think they're originally from Estonia, right? They worked on the game in Tallinn, and it has, like, Bertolt Brecht written all over it, right? And I grew up in Germany, so that's a thing that you read in high school a lot. Um, Ix says Dota 2 is the only one on that list that was an impediment to dissertation writing. That's nice. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Fortunately, when I was writing my dissertation in 2007, I didn't have a multiplayer game that was, like, eating up all my time. I was just, like, rattling off single player games. Um, Hi Yar says, I know that many people shit talk Heroes of the Storm, but I got hooked on that, but never for Dota 2 or LOL. I know a lot of people who actually know quite a few indie developers for whom Heroes of the Storm was the thing for a really long time. I guess it just never turned into, like, the esport that they wanted it to. I played it a couple of times. I liked it a lot. I think maybe I even liked it more than the other games. It's just that if you're then the person who's not going to actually play them and predominantly watch them, then that gets a little bit harder. Here's the thing I'm going to do right now. I'm actually going to turn off Spelunky and go to my desktop because we don't really need the background music of Spelunky here right now, and then figure out if I can still squeeze in another game before I need to run. Exit. Desktop. Let's see. There we go. Because now, Docky, what you're going to see here right now is that I'm also, like, toying with the idea of trying out Escape from Tarkov. Right? It's and this game could not be more, like, gun fetishism, right? Or, like, it's basically Arma. I guess I never played Arma. I didn't care about Arma at all. I kind of like the idea of DayZ, but I never played it. And then Terry was on the show, and he was like, "Oh, The Long Dark. It's so, like," he was like, "That's his, like, go-to idea of, like, a survival game." And now I'm like, "Oh, I should try The Long Dark." And then he's like, "Oh, but it's probably not the same because he played it pre release, and maybe it was better." It's so hard to say, right? Like, right now, I'm just seeing people play Escape from Tarkov, and it looks interesting from a mechanical point of view, from a risk-reward point of view, that I'm just like, "Oh, this looks kind of cool." And then I know if I play it, I'll be like, I don't want to. This is too, like, there's no map, there's nothing. It's, like, super hyper realistic. I don't know. I feel like I need a friend. Calling for a friend. I need a friend to dive into that together because I don't think I'm gonna play that alone. Yar says, oh yeah, we have said that. Tic-tac-toe, Breakfast Lunky, GLHF, thanks Tic-tac-toe. Docky says, I've never played online games, which is probably why it's so easy for me to be glib about multiplayer shooty things. I mean, you heard Zach talk, if you listen to the podcast, you heard Zach talk about that he kind of hates that, like, culturally it's questionable. Those things are, I think they're really complicated. By the way, just as a side note, I think I was in a car looking at Twitter, and I saw your tweet about, like, developers talking about their love of shooty games, like, gives me enough time to do other stuff. And I was like, I wonder if Docky is listening to Zach talk about Modern Warfare right now. I was like, it's so funny because I was just thinking maybe. It's kind of funny to me. But yeah, it's like it's a complicated topic, right? It's a complicated topic. And then, of course, Tarkov has all kinds of other issues around the developers having, like, some not great explanation for why they don't have women models in the game, and, like, the typical good old, well, it's hard to animate nonsense, right? The bad excuse that's just like, no, just say you didn't get around to it yet and you'll put them in. Like, I don't see what the problem is, right? They're literally the same rig. It makes no sense. But yeah, so basically it's just veiled information about, there's a whole group of people playing our games that we don't want to alienate them, which is not a good reason, obviously. But commerce. Tic Tac Fo says, I too want to try Tarkov, but there's way too much to learn. It's maybe, yeah, maybe that's true. The thing is, I think if you just jump into stuff like this and it's not for you, then your sunk cost is, in this case, $45. Which, I mean, I've done that more than once, right? I've bought games for $45 and more that I didn't play at all. It says cool games list. You mean my favorites? My endless list of favorites that just keeps on going. Some of these are games that I'm like, oh yeah, one of these days I'll play it. So here's my games to play list, right? Right now I am literally playing Outer Wilds. That's my top game right now, and it's amazing. And if you haven't played it yet, it's fantastic. Death Stranding is next. I'm co-oping Man from Medan with a friend right now who I used to play what's it called? Until Dawn with, on a couch with like passing controller back and forth. And now with Man from Medan, you can play it online. So he lives in New York, I live in LA, and we're just two different people all the time. And it's kind of cool. And with another friend, I'm playing like the typical stream Resident Evil 2. And if I miss a thing, my friend says, look over here. So on here says Noita. Yeah, Noita's in this list, right? It moves up and down every now and then because rest assured we will play a lot of Noita in 2020. Let's go back to this other screen. Delverino. Hello, I love the show so much and I haven't been able to catch the stream yet. Hello, Delverino. Welcome to the stream. It's a very small, cozy environment with maybe at most a dozen people at any given time. And I'm going to try to do it every Friday at 10 a.m. PST again for like an hour. I'd like to do it more, but it's just like my current life does not allow me to stream for like 4 hours on a Thursday, which I'd like to do. Right? I'd like to play games for 4 hours and have like a schedule of what I'm going to be playing, but I have to see if I can squeeze that in somehow. Doggy says, admittedly, I zoned out during the shooterless on the Game of the Year show. Yeah. Also because, I mean, maybe you zoned out because Zach talks about it, can talk about this stuff at such length, with such information density, where I'm just like, after a while, I'm like, okay, I get it. Right? And then Nick, of course, was like, okay, Zach, you get to talk about 4 more games in 1 minute after you picked Modern Warfare as your first 15-minute design treatise. Yeah, Tic Tac Fo says Noita, for sure, right? For sure. I'm going to get into that a lot more. Docky says, I enjoyed a weekend while sick playing Outer Wilds. Seems like a good time to play it. I had to work a lot this week, and I played a ton last weekend, and now I need to read the ship log again, and I feel like that's the kind of game that would benefit from me saying I have a 20-hour block in the next 3 days total, and I'm just going to like play through the whole game. Because I'm hearing it's around 20 hours, and I'm probably like 6 or 7 hours in, and man, it's something else, I'd say. It says Baker's Dozen right now. I don't know. What's Baker's Dozen? I'm blanking right now. Is that? It sounds like that's a folk game that I don't know. That maybe you had to grow up in the U.S. to know what that is. Docky says probably the most memorable game of 2019. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to play it anyway, but then it popped up as like Game of the Year for both Giant Bomb and Waypoint, 2 podcasts I listen to, where Giant Bomb, traditionally, they've been around for forever. They're pretty much, I'd say, a little bit more of a gamer's style outlet, but also they'd probably argue against that. That said, they used to be very much into like what our reviews are for consumers, right? And I'm like, okay, fine. I trust but sometimes I know that when you guys have opinions about a thing, I can adjust my expectations with respect to those expectations. And I think that's interesting. But the Waypoint folks, right? They're like the polar opposite, right? This is like cultural critique, and they think it's the best game of the year. So somewhere in there's a truth, right? Clearly, it's an amazing game. Delverino says, I know it doesn't feel the best for streamers at this size, but 10 to 50 is honestly my ideal. Maximizes streamer interaction, which is what I like about Twitch. Yeah, I mean, I think right now we're probably 6, right? Like I'm actually because it's hard to monitor this stuff in parallel to doing it. Let's see what we have. Well, we're 12. Yeah, so we're in the 10 to 50 range. I agree. I actually agree. I think the 10 to 50 range is really sweet. I tend to like to have the conversation about it. I've had I think we had at most 30 while we were streaming Overland, but that was also on a weekend. We announced it a week in advance, and we knew that it wasn't just going to be me. There tends to be more engagement when I can say, oh, and also Zach and Nick are going to be on board. But for Nick, it's kind of hard because it's work time, and Zach's also busy right now. And I just set it aside, right? And I also didn't do it last week because I just got back from vacation. Ick says, you said it was 12 people in here, but we cracked 13 for a minute. Fine. If I'm in here alone, that's probably the time when I'm going to be like, it's time to put this stream to rest because 0 people are interested. But as long as there's 6 to 12, this is fantastic. It's all good. What time is it? It's 10:51. Probably not the right time to start a new game, honestly, because it's, as I said, I have to, around 11:15 is when I have to be on call for my little son. Del Reno says, now I have to go sign into all my accounts and watch on different devices. Yeah. I'll put it up later again. You can also look at it from all accounts on Twitch and on YouTube so that we have higher engagement or whatever that number is called. Let's see. In closing, let's see. There's a couple of things. Is there any housekeeping stuff here that I want to talk about? Not really. Let's see. My shopping list. That's so funny. All this garbage that you can see here. So yeah, let's go over this dumb shit because there was stuff on the list that I wanted to talk about that I didn't because, quite frankly, you can only squeeze so much into a 90-minute podcast, right? And then Nick actually cut parts in the end because I was like, yeah, that we don't have to squeeze all that stuff in here. So I played 29 games last year. These are the 29 games I played. I actually finished Jedi Fallen Order in the meantime. I did not finish Sekiro. Still haven't finished that. Song of Bloom and Overland, finished that. Void Bastards. Noita, played it, didn't finish it. Finished Card of Darkness. Played a bunch of Super Mario Maker 2. Played but didn't finish Baba Is You. Obviously didn't finish Dicey. I started playing that pretty late in the year. Played Modern Warfare, Tetris 99, which was really hard to, you'll see down here when you see the ordered list. I was like, Lonely Mountain Downhill, Tetris 99. I don't know. Tetris 99 is amazing, and I'm bad at it, but it doesn't matter. Slay Spire, Apex Legends, Sayonara Wild Hearts, East Shade, Ape Out, Katana Zero. I finished Katana Zero, mostly because I was playing it for Independent Games Festival review. I like it a lot. I don't like it that much. I think it actually got nominated for a bunch of stuff, which was surprising to me. Risk of Rain 2, Keyforge. Keyforge is one of the only non-computer games, tabletop games I got to play a lot because we played a lot of that in the spring, and we had Richard Garfield on the show. I played some Elsinore. I haven't finished it. Elsinore is that Sleep No More style Hamlet play where you're you can't be everywhere at the same time, but it goes on a time loop, and it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, and I played a lot of AI Dungeon 2 because that's just so funny to play. Right, and then this fell out at the other end, right? And then I realized that, so the bold-faced here are actually games that I wanted to still finish before the end of the year, so that doesn't say anything about whether I think they should have been in the top 5. Overland was amazing. Void Bastards, Card of Darkness, Zach's game is amazing. But, if you do a top 5, there's only so much you can squeeze in. And then you'll see, all my iterations on this. And, of course, here's the list of games that I wanted to play. I, in the meantime, did finish Disco Elysium, and I'm playing Outer Wilds, and after that, we're going to go to Death Stranding. And then these are all the other games just from last year. That go straight into my backlog, right? Some of them I'll never play. Like The Outer Worlds, I don't think I'm ever going to play that, right? I don't think that's ever going to happen. Whereas Wilmot's Warehouse and Hypnospace Outlaw, oh my god, for sure, right? Because they just look amazing, and I eventually have to get around to that. And then Shenmue 3 has been there on there before, but then also Lara, who was on our show for the Best of the Year awards. Awards. It's not awards, right? It's just our top lists. Talked about it again. I was like, one of these days I'm going to be an old person, like a really old person, like older than now. And be retired maybe. I don't know. I don't think that happens in the United States anymore. And then I'll just play like Shenmue 1 to 3 and Yakuza 0 to 7. And that'll be that. And now I'm like, I listened to the podcast where Bennett talked about Vagante, and then Zach, of course, put it into his top 5, and now I'm like, okay, I probably need to check out Vagante. And then yesterday we recorded a show which I think is going live later today with JW from Vlambeer, and he talked about Monolith. So I think that's now probably in my, let's see where that is. Wish list. Okay, this is also hilarious, right? My wish list on Steam is 71 games long. Monolith, right? It's like a rogue like shoot 'em up shmup bullet hell shooter that has been out for like 2.5 years and has overwhelmingly positive reviews, and I've never played it. And then there's Vagante, and this shouldn't be on here. I have this on my iPhone. Obviously I should curate this stuff. Egg is broken, heart is too. Infernal Castle. A lot of this stuff is like looking at people saying like, oh, you really have to check this out, right? Frog is amazing. Simuland. And so again, Docky, I don't know if you're still around, but oh yeah, you are. I see you love JW. You'll see the mix here, right? Gris, Subsurface Circular, Danganronpa, Chuchel, and then Star Wars Republic Commando, or or Black Mesa, right? Or San Andreas, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Like I still want to play Dream Daddy. There's just so much stuff, right? One of these days I'll commit to Starseed Pilgrim. Maybe not. I don't know. It's hard. Time is hard. I have a friend who's setting up a server right now so we can play a private server version of 1 Hour 1 Life. There's Hypnospace Outlaw. Frostpunk is on Xbox Game Pass now, so I guess I'll check that out there. Patrick Klepek can't stop talking about how amazing Valfaris is, right? So it's like that's what I do, right? I look at a bunch of stuff, and then I figure out what I'm going to play next, and the options are sheer endless, as always, right? Delverino, the Spelunky Show Like Awards, in which you win 5 to 10 minutes of airtime. Exactly. I'm just trying to fill up the 5 to 10 minutes of airtime. Tic Tac Fo says Monolith is very good. The music is great too. Good to know. Seems like a thing I'm just going to try out and grab. Delverino says looking forward to that episode. GLW is awesome. Oh boy, was that a fun episode. Man, if you already like JW's ability to like design juicy and fun games, you're in for a treat, because the reasoning he provides for why his games feel good is very insightful for me, right? I learned a thing interviewing JW, and I've known the guy for like a decade. Ick said I had trouble deciding whether Mutazione or Goose Game was my favorite of 2019, but then a short hike came along and broke the tie. Yep, I can see that. I haven't played Mutazione yet, and furthermore, it's nominated for 4 awards at the Independent Games Festival 2020. I was on that jury for the grand prize, but I, of course, recused myself from voting for that game because I'm obviously biased, right, towards Doug, because we run a show together. And Doug worked on Mutazione for a long time. And Goose Game, Nick worked on Goose Game, right? So I couldn't vote on Goose Game either. It's pretty funny. Every now and then, the community's large, but it's also not large. So it's just an honor system to make sure that the balance is maintained and that the people who would have a bias just recuse themselves from the vote. Tic Tac Fo says Vagante. These are all good games. Yeah, I feel like I've curated the list relatively well, right? Delverino says, would you say it's similar to his GDC talk in tone? Which GDC talk? I don't know which GDC. Do you mean the I don't know which GDC talk, because he's given a few over the years. and in tone, keep in mind it's a talk that he's addressing people. In this podcast, we're interviewing him, right? So it's much more informal and like cozy fireside chat style, where we're just like basically just goofing off and trying to figure out how to make a better mini golf. That's my preview. Make a better mini golf is what we talked about. Ix says, way to get out of work, have lots of friends. Yeah. Ix, gotta go. Thanks for watching, Ix. A pleasure as always. Maybe one of these days we'll meet in person. We're all going to be at GDC. I don't know if anyone still comes to that, but most of us are going to be there. I think actually all four of us are going to be there. Doc says, is it similar to JW's Sleepy Chat in the Indie Hustle? I've never witnessed that. I've never been there for that. But yeah, it's the people who make the most amazing work are also often the most humble about their work and the most they have a very strong intuition about what works for them on a work-life balance scale and how they approach their work and how much work they generate and when they generate it. They focus on that and less about talking about it and less about procrastinating. But again, procrastination is a strong topic in the podcast. So it's a good one. I say this not having listened to it yet, but Nick's editing it probably right now as I speak to you. And it should be out later today, I'm going to say. And it was very fun to make, and I think some of the topics were awesome. Okay, so desktop gaming PC for USC Office. All this stuff I'm showing you. Computer graphics notes. IGF jury. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say I don't see anything left in the chat. I am going to sign off for today. Nope, Delverino. Didn't JW make a game a day for a while? Hard to fit procrastination into that. It's kind of how he started off, right? He, again, you'll see, he'll talk about this extensively in the podcast, but yeah, he just made a ton of stuff, right? Just like, and then when he couldn't finish it in the time allotted, he reduced the scope. And then when he couldn't finish that in the time allotted, he reduced the scope. So it was basically finding what you can do in the time given. It's kind of basic. He basically like preempted everything that we do in like a typical prototyping class, right? I teach a prototyping class where this is exactly what I'm trying to teach. You have approximately 8 to 10 hours a week for this. The first week, you're going to show a prototype that's hopelessly overscoped. So instead, make something smaller, make something smaller, make something smaller until you can make the thing to quote unquote completion in that week so that it feels really good. And then he got very good at that. And Docky says Game Maker is excellence for that, seems. Yeah, he has some really interesting stuff to say about Game Maker. Positive stuff, all positive. But also that it's like basically, it's like his hammer, and if that hammer went away, he'd like, my tools are gone, help, right? I don't think that's true. I think JW is smart enough to adjust to new stuff, but yeah, he's been using Game Maker for his entire career, right? Docky says Unity can be, but it's now easy to get bogged down. Yeah, we're using Unity in the prototyping class now. I wanted to use JavaScript and HTML5, but I got, believe it or not, overruled by my TA, who convinced me that would be doing the students a disservice. The jury's out on that. I'll report back after the semester, because right now I have 30 people in the class who are all going to be using Unity for prototyping, including myself. So I'm finally going to get maybe a little bit better at Unity. It looks easy enough. Yar says, know any good resource to learn prototyping, book or video or something. Resource to learn prototyping. I mean, it's not really, right? Because the way I teach it in class is I cobble it together from everywhere. So maybe one of these days I'll put up a website publicly that says, here are the things that I would do in order to practice prototyping. Because there's a ton of stuff, right? Docky says, in fairness, JS has a lot of nightmares. I bet, right? Because it was the first time, and I used this in the spring last year for my Train Jam game. It was the first time I ever used a non-typed language, right? And it was scary at first, but then when I realized it's only a prototype, I was like, this seems ideal for prototyping, right? And for like, hey, Docky, I made a game. Go to this URL, right? And then you can like literally give me real-time feedback without me having to send you a build and hoping that it runs on your system and all that stuff. Delverino says, honestly, watching people's devlogs of doing game jams is pretty good. Yeah, but this is all true, and there's a lot of stuff, right, that you can just like put together to see if you can get to a good point. The recommendation that we usually give our students in most classes is to not do quote unquote arbitrary tutorials. Like if you never used a tool before, like Unity, yes, it's fine to do the rollerball tutorial. It takes 90 minutes and it gives you like a good overview of what's going on. After that, tutorials are useful, but only for specific things. Like if you're just like, I want this in my game, I want a rigid body system, look up a rigid body tutorial. But then doing like tutorials is like, not really, it feels a little bit more like procrastination than like actually getting to a result, because what you're trying to do at that point is to get to a result, right? You're not trying to, hopefully you'll teach yourself how to be a good developer and programmer in parallel, but you're not in like a low-level C++ class, right? Where the goal is understand the C++ spec. You're trying to get a thing out the door. Yara says, thanks, that would be awesome. In all honesty, like I tried to write a book about this and failed because it's hard and because it takes forever to do a thing, and in the meantime your tastes change. But yeah, I used to have a publicly available repository for this class, and right now it's behind a Blackboard student login only. I'll try to change that in the future, because I think I'm going to be teaching this class to 30 people a semester going forward, and I just think it would be useful if people had the stuff available online. Doggy says, how to prototype, reduce a design spec on post-it notes. Yeah. Delverino says, you're making me wish I'd gone to NYU. I'm no longer at NYU. Maybe you just had the opportunity to go to NYU. I'm at USC now. I teach in California. But it's good. It's a great school as well. It's the first time I'm on a campus, like a student university that actually has like a real built campus and isn't like quote unquote in a city. Yeah, Doc, could not be more correct, right? Just like the smallest possible grain of genius, or whatever it is you want to call what you're trying to prototype, that's the prototype, right? Like it can't be small enough, because you basically want, right, without going into too much detail, you want to figure out whether that thing that's in your head is good, right? So in order to answer that question, sick burn. In order to answer that question, you have to get it onto the computer or onto a tabletop version as fast as possible, and then be able to iterate on it there. So the longer it's in your head, the longer it takes to be able to answer the question. So yeah, I try to get people to like, hey, it doesn't matter if it breaks, get it out fast. Make sure that the prototype has a reset button, right? That you can always just reset it really fast and don't have to you don't want friction in the ability to change a value and try it again. Change a value and try it again, right? If that takes long because you need to compile for 10 seconds or hit pause and then start it again in Unity, that's too long. That's already too long, right? That causes friction that adds up over time, that you will individually not perceive as annoying, but then over time it becomes a thing that just burns you down to the ground. Definitely one of the top 5 things that I've seen people do wrong over the last 20 years in games, computer science, PhD research, anything that requires iteration, right? It's the worst, and I've been guilty of it, right? So I've done it myself, and it's annoying. It's a glorious form of procrastination. Yar says one of the core things with Jonathan Blow's language. Yeah, it's, and one may have opinions about John Blow, but he is a smart guy. Right, and he's done that stuff before, right? So it's true, right? You need to be able to do stuff relatively fast. because you're otherwise going to just quit sooner rather than the time where it would make sense. Okay, and now I'm 10 minutes over, and I hear a small child over in the other room. So thank you very much for watching. I will speak to you all hopefully next Friday again. I know I say I'm not doing it, but one of these days I'll have a longer stream on a Thursday, and it will be less chat and more going through this absurdly long list of games on the stream. So thank you a lot for watching. I will talk to you all soon. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care.